This is not a toothpaste, it's a revolution for your teeth. Remineralize, strengthen teeth, all natural ingredients, essential oils, minerals, salts. Alpha Vedic Dental Solutions System. That's alphavedic.com/civilization. You know, we're always trying to bring you the best products here that we think will enhance your life, especially if supply chains break down further or if there's some disruption in our lives here. It seems in the news more and more possible, but hey, who knows? Maybe it's a mind game. But what is not is keeping your dental health up. And not a lot of people are talking about this. We always see the storable foods. But what about dental care during these same emergency situations? Will your toothpaste eventually run out? Well, if it does, then what? So like I say, this whole micro gut biome is driven by your oral cavity first. So take a look at what they have, alphavedic.com/civilization. Every purchase you make helps keep our live radio show and podcast on air, bringing you more information just like this. alphavedic.com/civilization. That link is in the show notes below. And as always, I appreciate your valuable time and joining us in this ever and most important conversation as we move forward in our world. Hey everyone, are you ready to grow your own fresh, delicious vegetables, herbs, and flowers this season? If you're looking for the highest quality heirloom and organic seeds, I've got the perfect company for you, True Leaf Market. They've been a trusted seed company since 1974, offering 3,000 types of non-GMO varieties, everything from classic heirloom tomatoes and peppers to rare herbs, microgreens, sprouting seeds, and beautiful flowers. All those seeds are open pollinated, pure, and perfect for home gardeners or anyone wanting healthy, flavorful produce without chemicals. What I love the most is their huge selection, fast shipping guarantees, plus options for bulk if you're going big. If you're excited to start your garden this year with real, authentic heirloom and organic seeds, click the link in the description box below to check out trueleafmarket.com. You won't regret it. Happy planting, and thank you for supporting the channel and this broadcast. Taking form in the hologram. Good evening, everybody. Whoosh. An exciting week passes. Decided to just kind of stay away from social media this week and just kind of let the mind go without the dragging of thought, you know. We try to bring in the news every week and tie ideas together, but at some points, it's a tidal wave of a mishmash of incredible dual layering of messaging where, you know, you just need to step back for a minute and let that kind of wash through. You know, it's looking at a flood coming down, sort of gully, as Ransom was showing those beautiful drone shots there. If there's a massive flood coming down through some of those washes, you just kind of want to get out of the way, let it clear through, and then, you know, jump back in after that and walk out. Same thing with the news this last week, or the week and a half, actually. So Einstein files coming out, and everything's all about that. But there's so many dual layer messaging inside there. So I decided to walk away and focus on wealth and really try to dissect, where is this thing going? Okay. So, you know, through history, money is not destroyed. It moves from location to location. Just as the rulers of our planet started in Sumeria, then they moved to Babylonia, then they moved to Rome, supposedly, and also to London and now in Washington. So that house of power moves around the planet too. Now, I would say the the Vaticanai, is still there with its power from the beginning as the seed point of everything else out. Where is money moving right now was sort of my question as I sat in the forest. It's not going to evaporate, it's going to move. And, this whole thing about crypto with the Einstein files crashing, I was sitting there thinking about, all right, well, what are the two things that are really the problem with cryptocurrency today? Before these big banks and countries and everything can take on to use it. Number one, the volatility. It can't go up and down that much. Not good for investments. People are used to locking in on a couple percent movement. That's acceptable. You've been trained 2% for your whole life of theft of your purchasing power called inflation. People are comfortable with that 1 to 2, 3% range. They're not comfortable with 50% drop. That's catastrophic. 10% down on Amazon, 30% down on Amazon. People are jumping off buildings. Volatility needs to decrease. Secondly, there needs to be anonymity in large transactions because you can't have a bank allowing everybody to trace onto a blockchain where all the money is going to go to. So you need the anonymity. It's privacy. It's not anonymity. Anonymity would be like Monero and Pirate Chain, these sort of things. Privacy. So I had a chance to sit down and just, what are the privacy blockchains that are out there for institutions? Because you got to look at it as the days of people just diving into, support projects and make money and roll the dice on a table to get rich in crypto. Those days are over. We're moving into an institutional world now. You see, everything's just gone institution. It's been swallowed completely almost by the traditional finance system in the world. So where does that take us? And where does all the rest of this news take you away from? So this is what I was trying to connect out and really just kind of staying away. I was following a few snowstorms. Just the amount of avalanches happening across the planet too is astounding. They're derailing trains over in Switzerland, people dying over here. Ransom going to tell us, it's a little bit closer out there. I'm sure it's more on local news than it is out here in East Tennessee with, people getting caught up in avalanches, skiers and that sort of thing. Kashmir, incredible avalanches. Russia, incredible avalanches. Japan, incredible avalanche. Everywhere you go, this is like the year of the avalanche and the year of the 10x or 20x flood. I can't tell you the amount of crazy log floods, rock flow floods, earth cracks, and these sinkholes opening up that are city blocks disappearing in Shanghai just into a sinkhole. There's some amazing events going on globally in terms of on the side of the natural thing too. So my whole week has just been about divesting from the regular feeds, jumping into the only wild weather feeds, and focusing on wealth this week. That's all I did. So I want to bring you some of my findings tonight. And Ransom, thanks for holding down. Hope you're feeling better. And last week we dropped off. We just I needed a minute because just was overwhelmed with things going on personally here. Trying to move a little bit back, and there's a whole bunch of things happening. So I wanted to jump over to the Civilization Cycle, buymeacoffee.com/Civilization Cycle to start off the night. Thank you so much for your comments, your support for us here. Catherine Barlow, I was thinking about this earlier today when I was reading these comments before I even started. What do you think about Einstein behind Bitcoin now? It's dumping. It does have in 2028, and it drops before the halving. Yeah, so we're just in the beginning of 2026. It's going to come up. Institutional is where it is going right now. Everything institution. So you got, most people are in the crypto space. They're all into, oh man, these DeFi projects, all these NFT projects, oh, this kind of project over here. Okay, that's great on just the mom and pop side and whatever you and your friends side, but that's not the real world. The real world is, where's all this money going to move to in the real world? So there is currently a new coin that's going to be the transition mechanism for all U.S. Treasury bonds from this point forward, both buying and selling. So the very base minimum that they're going to be throughputing is at least $2 trillion a year starting now. So these are a couple, and I was tracing the institutional money. Where is the big money going? what is going to be used in crypto and the big money forward, because it's the same thing. If you're looking at these big banks, the big five banks, and then you're looking at countries moving money and all the treasuries and all the debt and all the, different ways that trade payments are made between trading partners on these imports and exports. It's all going to flow through institutional channels. This is the thing. Where is the world's finance gravitating to? And it's going to gravitate, and it's taking a chunk with it. It's like an eagle that talons are into, and they're just pulling wealth away. It's not destroyed, it's moved. And it's going to move into the new institutional cryptocurrency settlements and privacy space. And that's where I've kind of been focused. So, Ransom, I'm rambling again, man. But Catherine, I got something for you here. One-Eyed Jack, throwing down the knowledge. Thank you so much. Andy Torley, 345, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, dude. Thank you for your service. You've opened my eyes and maybe saved many lives. And you're an angel. I should say, all right, I'm the right wing. Ransom, you're the left wing of the angel. What do we got for the beak in the middle? Anyway, thanks for joining us tonight. Ransom, take it away, dude.
Why I got to be the left wing?
All right, you're the right wing. I'll be. There's it's a duality. It is harmonious. It is. You be the is wing, and I'll be the is wing, man. We are.
It's funny.
In the hologram.
I made a meme probably back in 2001 that had a big turd that looked like a bird, and it had two wings on it. And I put right wing, left wing, vote for your side, because you still get the government shitbird that's raining it down. No, why are they doing all of that? This last week's been crazy, but I think it just went to another level.
Yeah.
Today. There's so many things. I think basically they just hurry up and get there. We're at the Werner von Braun story at the end of it right now. Mm-hmm. So I don't even know if the guy even said that, but there's the story that on his deathbed, he said that there was going to be, these different tribulations. He named them out, communism, this, that, the other thing. But at the end, there's going to be this unseeable, unknowable threat or force that will make everybody have to, by mandate, unify in some kind of goal. And when you start looking at, what's going on around the world, we're going into the mining phase again. Now, most people think of the old, prospector guy out there mining, looking for gold. We're going to the next level. We're going to strip the earth. We're going to strip the moon. We're going to move out, and we're just going to start stripping things. For what? Right? Well, it seems like they're kind of giving us the answer. We can start right here.
I have an answer for you. You go with your answer first, and then I'll go with my answer, because by the end, in just a couple more short months, the very fabric of our civilization is going to be challenged. And I'm not talking about finance. I'm talking about the great comet maps that's coming through. That is going to be one of the biggest, brightest comets in 200 years, at least.
Right.
In April. Like in a couple months from now. It's going to be nearly the brightness of the sun in the daytime sky, ripping through. Sun grazer, no less.
Yeah, it's funny because we have so much going on. If you've been following the military, we're building up all over the place. And back here at home, we're exposing the public to the, let's see, how do I put that? The network that they built. So we went through these stages of think tank scenarios for the past 70 years now. And they've all kind of been leading to one conclusion. And we'll get into that in a minute. But I think this is part of that. This is the president saying that he's going to release all the files. Not those files. These are different files. He's going to release all the files of UFOs, UAPs, aliens, extraterrestrial life, whatever the government has. He's going to get old Pete Hegseth there to be in charge of that. Um, so I think it'll turn out
Katie,
about
Katie.
like what it did already. So this all started the other day when Obama in an interview said that aliens are real. He hasn't seen them, but he knows they're real. Now, within the day, he got on social media. He clarified that he meant the universe is so big that, of course, there's probably some aliens out there. Then Trump comes on TV and has to trump his comment by saying, well, he shouldn't have did that releasing classified information. But, if you knew about aliens, you shouldn't have talked about it, whatever. But now he's put out this Truth Social post, um, maybe pulling our legs, or maybe, this is the next layer of distraction as predicted. Uh, and all they have to do is this. They don't have to do anything more. Just the mention of it and the idea that disclosure will happen is going to have everybody freaking out for the next 5 years. There's probably 20 Ancient Aliens episodes in the works right now, just from what happened the last 3 days. But in the backdrop, we're going after resources, so maybe there is something to that. They're going to try to convince people that there's an unseen alien threat, and that may work its way back into some of the agendas that are actually happening for real. Not the alien part, but the organization and retransformation of how the world works. We can start with this stuff right here. I'm sure you saw this on the news. The supposed drone penetration into El Paso airspace, which there's still some debate whether or not it was just a big party balloon or it was an actual UAP, meaning they didn't know what it was, or it was a drone. But either way, we used our hardcore weapons to take it down. So they kind of just let the public realize, yes, we can zap stuff out of the sky. How convenient, just in time for the alien invasion, too, But no, for real, there's like 40,000 crossings of drones on the border. And I did predict that this was going to be the future of headlines, where they're telling you that. And I also saw it in person with my own eyes. And I mentioned that on a previous show that they were all set up as if they were a front line dealing with drone warfare. So they had all these toys on their stuff ready to go, and now they've got to use it and zap something down. I don't think we're ever going to find out really what it was, because there will always be mistrust of the official narrative of anything, and rightly so.
Yeah, well, I got one. I did want to throw this into you here because, I mean, this rightfully is going to be one of the largest comets that we've seen in quite some time here. So it's in Forbes magazine already, and they're getting. So the first time I saw this, I'm going to drop you the screen here. Stefan Burns, astrophysicist, one of my faves on YouTube. Shout out, dude. He always references my channel too, We're in that kind of same genre, but he came out and was saying that this sun grazing comet, like what you're seeing publicly and what it really is going to be, are two very different things. That the information that he has from the actual astrophysicists that are tracking this thing are going to put it at a minus 7.1 or up to maybe -8 on the brightness, which puts it daytime visible. And the length of the tail is going to be astounding. Now, during these types of events, generally, we have some debris that will be rolling through that will have a noticeable shooting star impact. This thing in itself, with everything going on, and this comet is going to come through, and imagine seeing this in the middle of the day, something like this. But here's what it is. This is the comet from 1882. And also, if you do remember back in the 1800s, we're getting 10,000 shooting stars per hour for 2 nights in a row. They were seeing shooting stars a day. This is 1882 here.
82. Okay.
And 1833 was the night that the sky fell, is what they call it. and up to, yeah, that many shooting stars per hour. Now, of all things, why is this in Forbes magazine? Is the reason that you would ask. Like, why is it in Forbes? Like, this is such a big thing already. Usually, these types of articles never make it into the mainstream. And the whole messaging here, it's a sun grazer as well. So depending where it hits, it may not make it through the photosphere because it's incredibly hot there. You know, you're talking 10 million plus degrees Celsius. So when this thing comes through, most of the time when they get into that area, they break and they shatter, and pieces go into the sun and create these massive, I'm talking massive CMEs.
Right.
This could very
Earthquakes.
well be one of those that they're talking about. So this is something that they're giving you a warning. I mean, everybody on the planet is going to see this thing. So just a distant warning on how large it's going to become.
Don't a bunch of earthquakes also happen around when you get these sun diving comets?
Yeah, absolutely. So here you go. I want to also show you the trajectory of this thing here. So if we're looking at Earth is, our orbit is coming this direction. Like it's going to be that close to us coming in and out. So it's going to be incredibly visible. It's going to be incredibly close. For us, though, we are passing away from the debris stream as this thing comes in and out. But I want to show you something that makes zero sense. If you, oh, they did widen it out. Okay, earlier today, yeah, they had this thing as just a Kreutz type of comet, which is maybe Oort cloud-ish. But they're very well, also, this could be very similar trajectory to Comet Atlas and another interstellar comet coming in. That would make one in just every single year in the last 4 years that we've had interstellar comets.
Right.
This one is supposed to be, I mean, something off the hook to the point of once in a 200 year. Like you will never, our grandchildren will never see this intense of a display. Because I had looked up, any of you remember Hale-Bopp back in the day? Do you remember that,
Yep.
Ransom, the blue and white one in the sky?
Oh yeah, made a whole thing about the Heaven's Gate.
Yep, that was only a negative 1.8 in terms of brightness. This is going to be a -7 to -8. So remember, each time you go up the scale, you're doubling the brightness. It's kind of like earthquakes. Every time you're going up, like a 7 to a 7.1, it's 10 times, increase in terms of the displacement and the shake on that. So it's the same thing with the light trajectories on these, the brightening of it. So, the conservative estimates coming are 0. And, the real people with the real information are at a -7 to a -8. So there's a huge disconnect between what they're putting out publicly right now and what the astrophysicists know as the true brightness of this thing is how it's going to get. Governments have a couple months to prepare for this. So this all kind of fits right into being just weird in itself. Right at the strange time when we have all this other unusualness occurring. And then right here, as it comes down, April 8th is supposedly, so that's not very far away. Think about it. We're already in February at the end. We got March and April 8th. This thing's coming in fast in like a month and a half. So who could take advantage of this? Since you were talking about the doomsday cult from Comet Hale-Bopp, then who do you think might take advantage of this one, you might ask?
Right.
I'm just asking for the crowd out here because,
that Heaven's Gate thing was really weird because the guy, I forget his name now, but he thought he was the reincarnated Jesus. He thought he came back. But not just that, but that his dad also was an alien visiting that left there under Halley's Comet a decade before, right? So him and all his people thought they were going to get picked up and taken by this alien that was going to scan and pick up their spirit and take them, And like you said, it wasn't even that bright of a comet, and there were groups losing their minds over it. I was actually joking the other day that I told my son that, when I get old and I have a heart attack or something, I need you to dress me up in black sweatpants, a black sweatshirt, a pair of black Nikes, like those Nike Cortez, if he can find them, if they still make them, and then cover me in a purple blanket just to mess with the authorities. Because that's what they did. They got all dressed up.
Oh, they did. Okay. Well, we're ready for another gigantic.
The Kool-Aid don't drink the Kool-Aid was
No,
the
stay away from
message.
Kool-Aid. If it's free Kool-Aid day, you'd hang loose. I'm like, no, I like ice cream today, dude.
Right.
Hey,
Let's see it.
anyway, yeah, let's look at this comment here with Jeff Harmon, because I had an interview. I had him on my show here, Jeff. Excellent. And he also showing planetary alignment, wild energy coming. This comet, if it does come to the brightness that it's going to be, this is going to be a game changer, like you said. What kind of they only have 2 months to wind this thing up for some kind of drink the Kool-Aid day. But for the average person on the ground, the world's kind of skittish and a little bit kind of, not normal right now. Too many things are coming out. It's almost like they're giving you so much information about this interconnectivity of like high level players, and they're doing just some nefarious stuff. And they're showing you the whole entire bloop. They're showing you the entire chessboard pretty much right now. So you beg for the new system. You want everybody taken away. You want the new system. You want it to come in. Now, all this is going on. It's just going to continue to increase. And then you got this comet that is just going to blow, doors off of your mind when you see this thing in the middle of the day. And at night, I can't even imagine how long the tail is going to be. And the intensity of the brightness. And then you got all these things going on. Maybe a war starts, more financial. And then you got this comet in the sky. Like, just generally, the Chinese just dislike comets. They're bad omens. And the closer they are, the more of a bad omen they are. Generally, I'm just going to say through history, crops fail after comets come. I don't know what it is. It's like, Ransom, you talking about electromagnetic effects here on our planet. Plagues usually follow some of this stuff. Very close in large comets, plagues, and famines. What's it tied to? I can't really say. I have some ideas, but nothing definitive. And would our history really tell us that?
Is that comet that you were showing?
No, go ahead.
The one where the Earth goes right through its debris field? Because I was looking at one, I forgot the name of it.
Next year.
But its debris field would be in our orbit.
Oh,
like it'll be gone, but we'll go right through where it went, which doesn't usually happen. By the way, but it might have happened.
The Sky Live is generally where I'll pick up some. Well, that's where these replicas of catastrophe come in. If you think about a long duration comet that's coming in and it leaves a debris field. Let's say we're on like give me a long time period, Ransom, that you might think. 800 years. This comet comes through. We don't know about it yet because we haven't seen it. It hasn't come in. So when it goes way out, we're not going to see it. We're not going to find it. It's getting dimmer as it's going out. So let's say this thing comes through every 800 years and we don't even know about it until it's at our doorstep. Now, the debris that it would drag through, we would go ripping through the following 2 years or so. Eventually, after a couple of decades, all that debris would have either been absorbed by us and would have dissipated and gone out in its float, for a better term. The gravity would take it off in different directions. So after, a decade or so, the next generation, their parents would tell them stories. But 2 generations away, you got the grandparents maybe telling a story to the grandkids, but the third generation, complete forgetfulness of it. Look at this 1833 event where they had 10,000 shooting stars per hour. They were saying it was so bright just from the shooting stars that you could read a newspaper outside. It was brighter than the full moon. Now, that was only in 1833, one of the biggest celestial events in literally a couple of 100 years, and we rarely talk about it. You have to go into the lithographs to find it. Not that many people even can know what the reference of it is. The 1882 comet, that's another super gigantic one. And again, what followed? Well, they had the forest fires. They had the famines come directly after that.
I was wrong. It was Halley's Comet Halley's Comet's debris field that we're about to go through in 2026.
Is it supposed to be larger than average?
I don't know about that. I just remembered that being the thing there.
Yeah, because those yearly meteor showers that we experience, those are from the remnants of those comets that had passed. And we keep going through the debris field year after year after year. And that's how we know, and we can plug that in on those certain dates, and they know the quadrant that it is. They know exactly where it's coming from. They know what time of the night it's going to start because we've been around it forever. That's how they know these meteor showers, because that was the debris left over from comet. But now sometimes it does, and we do get into some heavier debris, and we're traveling as well. We're not just sitting here and just spinning in orbit. Our entire solar system is moving. So will it come into contact with something larger also? But I'm just going to say distant, like, another month away. This is a very close-in event. It's not like, waiting for 2 years for this comet to come. Like Atlas, you look at that, and they kept trying to feed you all these things about Comet Atlas. Oh, it's an alien craft. Oh, it's slowing down. Oh, it's doing this. It's got jets. It's got a star pattern. Well, they were slowly eking you through this. Oh, it's going to go past Mars. Oh, it's going past Earth. Oh, it's going to go out past Jupiter. We're not really hearing anything. This is going to come ripping in and come ripping out. Now, it's, a sun grazer, the size of this comet, if it were to hit the sun, would send like an X100 flare off. It would completely decharge into that whatever facing side it is, and that would set us back for a little bit, wouldn't it? If we got such a large, even if it was like an X50.
Right. Well, this thing says.
Oh yeah, Swift Tuttle. That's another debris field one that comes through.
Right. This one says pretty much we're going to go through at least 6 different comet debris fields in 2026. You got the normal one. You got Swift Turtle, Zinner, whatever that is, and then Enkel, and then Temple Turtle, and 8P Turtle, whatever that is. I don't even know. I didn't even hear of those before until today.
Okay, so those must be short duration comets that are just coming in and whipping around and then leaving something. Now, if they were that large, we would have seen them, or it would have made news if it would have been such a large one that came in and left a lot of scraps around that we would pass through. But you got to wonder, some of these smaller ones too, what are they leaving up there? And to go through 6 of them, now I encourage everybody to go to the Sky Live, and you can look up all these different comets that are there. Dozens of them currently. I will share the screen again if I could here. Let me share this with you. Hold on. The Sky Live, and we could take a look and see which ones are going to be giving us some show here. Yeah, there we go. Can I make this a little bit smaller in the corners so we can wide out the screen? These tiny little references here. Okay, the Where's Chaos. I'm not really sure what this one is. Now, we can click on them. Lemon, that's a well-known one. Shumase, and there's your 88P Howl. Hadn't heard of that one. So let's take a look in here and see where the orbit is. So if you just click on orbit on this thing, it'll take you right into the orbit tracker. So then you can zoom in and out. I like to go up and down on it to see where the trajectory of this thing. Generally, they'll show you if it's coming above the ecliptic, below the ecliptic, and then you can kind of look Earth's right here, and you can see this thing. It looks like it's going to go below the ecliptic and then back out for sure. It's already coming in at a steep angle. If it was way up here, you're not really sure. It's already at the ecliptic. This ADS. So this is going to go below the ecliptic, dive around the sun, and come back out. Now, where will we be when this occurs? Okay, well, we're coming into that. So this thing's going to be coming this way as it moves through, and let's see if we can move forward in time here. Oop, yeah. Oh, no, it's going out on the purple. There you go. So, no, we won't hit the debris field because the orbit's on the outside just swinging through. If it was going to be a sun, it's going to come around perihelion. So that one doesn't really count for Howl because the debris is going to be way out here. Now, Mars might have some interaction with this. That is going to collide with Mars, which is pretty interesting right there. It looks like, maybe not, but it's very close to Mars. So that's like not going to affect us. That debris is way out there. It's never going to really hit us. It's out on the Mars orbit there. So
that's just what the dinosaurs said.
That's what the dinosaurs said. You damn dinosaur. All right. So here's orbit. Another one. So Sun Gao, again, it's way outside there near the orbit of Mars. Okay. That's not going to affect us directly. Maps, on the other hand, this one is, and I just showed you that trajectory of that one anyway, when it comes in, going to be very close to us. Why is it so far down on the screen? That's interesting. This one's coming in, and here's the same thing that I saw earlier too, was this view. Why is it such a short orbit on that? If it's one time they haven't really seen this one, it's just discovered, then why is it such a short orbit? And see, there's something unusual about this one. And I am going to go woo. So thank you for the comment. I'm going to go woo a little bit, early in the hour here. This thing doesn't make sense. It's a short. They show it as a super short duration comet, but then they're like, "This is the first time we've ever seen this one," right? So really, where's it coming from? And you take a certain look at it, and where is this thing going here? Here's our ecliptic on it, so when it comes up and around, we'll be able to see it for sure. Let's see what else we got out there for us. Oh, linear. Yeah, this is one that leaves us some debris that comes through. Oh, it's on the outside of. Oh, it's the outside. What were some other ones that you were talking about there?
There was a bunch of turtles. Flying turtles, man.
Turtles. Let's see if we can find one. There's 3i Atlas. That thing's way out there now.
That's what they're saying in the chat. Yeah, I don't see the ones
Orbit
that
Neat.
we were looking at a minute ago yet.
Yeah, Neat's way hella out of here too, so it's not coming anywhere near us. Stars. There you go. Linear one. Grells. And these are. There you go. Check out the orbit on this one. Yeah, that's far out too. Oh, wait a second. It's coming right in. I can't find your turtles or tuttles.
Let me open that thing back up.
But that's all just happening right now at this very second, If you're able to find some turtles and tuttles, I'm all good, man.
That's just what the AI told me. So you can't ever trust the AI.
You can't trust the AI. I know you can't. There's the hallucinations are incredible on the AI lately. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
Like
according to the people that work in it, though,
nearly every other answer you're getting these days is
I had a thing about literally that.
Ransom.
Name the comets. Where the hell did it go? Yeah, it looks like you're breaking up. I'm not sure what's going on there with that. It's because we're talking about aliens.
I'm here still. You'd be mumbling.
No,
over there.
I actually read a whole article about them talking about from 21 to about 25 that the AI was basically hallucinating and wouldn't tell people right answers. It didn't know what things were. And according to this article, people have no idea what's coming because all of that has caught up, and the 2026 generations of these things are nightmarishly ahead of their time. I could find a stupid article here. Had it all set up, but it just went away. Who's glitchy? Is it both of us? What's going on? You tell us in the chat how it's going. Hello? I think David's talking.
Yeah, Ransom, you're supposed to be naming the comets from this point forward. So give us a new comet name.
I don't know. I figured that, if one was really coming in, we'd just name it You're Screwed. Something like that.
We could do a lithograph of it, an AI lithograph, and then hopefully you could photograph it on your phone, and then we could keep that for 6 generations from now when I can't even use the computer that updated from Windows 10 to 11. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
This society is a disposable society. Like, really nothing is meant to last in terms of information on the transition from this world. I'm going to call it the newest old world into the new world, because I was reading and listening to a incredible synopsis of the census they had done and the records that had disappeared. Was it Truman or Roosevelt had started a project to do a census and interview more than 2,000 people that were in their 80s and 90s back in the 1940s and 30s to get an account of what their lives were like. And there were still people that were alive that they were interviewing that they were children when the Civil War started in the 1860s. And they were children and they remember growing up in the transition, and those records were put away, and they had done a full census also. And there was a lot of people that just adopted new names that were moving around everywhere. And they talked about the Chicago fire, like millions of acres burned during that time when the comet tail came down and scorched the city. Like all these different references to incredible events. And all of it was buried. The building that was housing all that stuff caught on fire in the 1950s. They subsequently saved about 75% of it, but it was water damaged and smoke damaged. Then the new building they put it in had a massive flood and it destroyed the rest of the records. They were able to save maybe 10% of those. And then that was it. Out of those almost 3,000 interviews, there was only about 50 that were available to still read and go through. But this was 2 different presidents. And then finally, Truman had said, you're not going to see that information. So I'm just saying that there was an old world that we were not supposed to know about. And the people that had lived through that time into this new world were telling people, hey, it was very different. What you're told right now is not like it was very different back then. And then, can we believe the same thing? Because all records would pretty much be lost because everything is digital now. All you would have is your memory of bringing this iteration of our world forward. So when me and Ransom are like 95 or 100, we would be telling some of the stories. The world will have been completely revamped by the time Ransom and I are 100 for sure.
Right.
And then when they're trying to teach that stuff in history books, me and Ransom going, shit, no, that's completely false. I don't believe that.
Actually, they'll tell us. They'll tell us that. The young people will tell us that we're crazy and that didn't happen. Because there won't be no statues or books or nothing to prove that it happened.
Right. Because imagine all the digital gets wiped out. All the statues get wiped out anyway because we need to recycle the metal. They were bad for whatever narrative. So destroying the past is always part of the MO of resetting history into a forgetful period. I'm just going to call it that. Best use of lexicon, forgetful period. Because they can't have you remember in the old world because the same rules are not going to operate in the new world. That's what I'm saying. Like whoever rightly pointed out Canton coin with the DTCC settlement clearance for all treasury bonds forward. That is a new thing that in 20 years from now, it will be the standard just as much as we know, like the SWIFT system. When do you go back to somebody that only transacted with gold and silver and that's all they knew? You're going back another 100 years in the past. So, stories of what you could buy for an ounce of silver or half ounce of silver back then would absolutely shock your mind. Because I was doing a cattle to gold ratio and I was looking at some of these silver prices and, you could get a literal heaping, gigantic. You couldn't even fit that. You couldn't fit into cars. They had the stories of these kids. They had those side rider boards. A lot of the gangsters used to hang off, and kids had to ride home on the side riding boards because the cars were so full for just a couple dollars to go grocery shopping, under $10, and they couldn't squeeze another thing in. The kids had to ride on the sides, and it wasn't even $10. It was like $7 for that much food. So you start to think about, because, transacting gold and silver, holds the value. So you don't get that debasement like we have now. But anyway, this world's, what could we take through with us?
To the other side? Well, I tell you what, these mega rich in their mansions, I bet they're storing gold and silver for future markets. I just bet money on that.
Well, they're making a scenario now, like, don't buy that clunky thing. If you buy it now, you need to take like a 20% reduction if you're going to sell it because nobody's giving you the spot price. They're always trying to pull you back. 20% back a spot. It's a terrible investment. Just invest in Bitcoin. Have you heard after silver ran up to like 100, near $120, all you kept hearing was unanimously pounded across the news. So you can't sell your silver for what it's worth. You're always going to have to take a 20 to 30% loss on it. Don't even think about buying it. It's a terrible investment. Even though it's going high, it's such a terrible investment.
Right.
So that thing that I got for $15 that went up to 80 is still a bad investment. I don't care if I take 20 back. I'm still up 4 times,
Right. And that's just a little trough in the overall
Trough.
range of it. And it always peaks over time, just depending on what's happening. There's really no argument about that, about gold, silver. And what's funny is, platinum is actually rarer and should be worth more money, but yet gold is usually worth more. And the reason for that is because we've been attached to gold since the moment we walked out of wherever we came from. The very first peoples everywhere were fascinated with gold. They might not have been using it specifically for what we call monetary things, but it was so super important anyway. It was either attached to the gods or it was a trading method. In every scenario, it was priceless almost. We have got to the future where we've put a price on it and it always goes up.
Yeah, could I make reference to that? Like, if you go back into even just a couple of 100 years ago, and let's go even further back, like say 500 to 1,000 years ago, gold wasn't worth anything unless you fashioned it into something. Like the thought process of just finding a nugget of gold was okay. And the belief system then, it wasn't really worth anything until you transmuted it into some sort of object, and then
Right.
it took on the value. Like the gold itself is a nugget in the stream. The possibility to turn that into something valuable was there, but it really didn't have the value until you turned it into something. Well, it's the opposite today. Like these rough specimens are worth more than the actual, beautiful printed or smashed, minted coins that we have today. It's
Right.
interesting how the actual gold from the ground's worth more naturally than it is after it goes through a refinery and just incredible, beautiful coins,
Right. And the only other kind of gold that's out there that has any more value has to be very important historically or if I could even get that out. In
No.
anthropology, like studying people. I'll just skip it. Skip the word. But yeah, unless you're finding like some sunken treasure or some Spanish doubloons or something, gold is just more valuable as the gold. I mean,
Yeah. So you see how it flip-flops through antiquity of what is considered, but still, nonetheless, it's the same substance. However, it's fashioned or not, the value still remains there. Just in times of older, it's more valuable as you took and replicated something that was from the creator, whether you turned it into a bird or a little bee, or you made something else out of it that creation itself,
like a national security state.
then it had value. The thing we're missing with all this stuff.
Well, it's really funny. Think about that. We have back in World War II and other times, we collected up all the gold that we could get. The government said, you know what? You guys are too dumb to hold on to it. We need to take it. We need to lock it up. We need to make it in big bars and base our country off of it. But we'll take away basing our money on it and let everybody else base their money on it. And then we'll give them paper for metal. But where is that metal? When things reset here in I'm going to say a few decades, like all the way, the crown has $900 billion worth of gold publicly. The actual amount and monetary number is a state secret in England. The same thing is true for the US. There's no way to actually find out how much gold we have because they won't let anyone inspect it or audit it. So you're to trust whatever they say. And this is the same group that decides what the, interest is on money. And they're the same people that print the money. They have the gold. But then there's the Vatican that has probably tons and tons of hidden gold as well. And if we do reset, they all sneak away into the shadows and then they reemerge as world powers because they still have the gold. I mean, like in any reset. And then just looking at this stuff, people really want to know where it's going. And I think that maybe we've been looking to the future too much to explain things, and maybe we should back up a little bit and look at stuff like this. This is Rex 84 here. So let me ask you if this sounds familiar to the audience. Rex 84, or Readiness Exercise 1984 Bravo, was a classified 1984, ironically, federal government drill and a scenario designed to detain up to 400,000 undocumented immigrants and 4,000 American subversives, I guess, American citizens deemed as national threat or a threat, which, so if you've been paying attention over the decades, they keep pushing this. First, you get Operation Garden Plot, which gives a bunch of powers. And then you get Rex 84, and then this goes into Night Train 84, and all of it gets re-updated year after year with the National Defense Authorization Act. So you got to ask yourself, with all of the issues that you're force fed on television, and they're telling you that these are big cultural battles of ideas to pay attention to it, really, they've already made necessary laws and enacted bills and had scenarios all to deal with these situations in the future. And I think that's what we're about to be living on. And especially if you really get into this and what it says, you'll realize that this is the continuity of government plan. But you have to have a reset level scenario to enact these things, and it looks like that's the era we're living in right now. These plans are coming to fruition right here. People were saying, that's never going to happen. What's that? Make it a habit.
Read it, Ransom. Make it a habit to wake up grateful no matter what you're going through. Life could be better, but it could also be much worse. Always pray and stay thankful. You could end up in a Rex 84 camp, and that would be a bad thing. It's better to be on the outside in the countryside growing your own food. Be thankful. You look around the world, and all these things that we might think, oh, it could be, maybe, might be, it's mission creep, We're still lucky it's not here. Like mission creep is China, where that is full net over there. You don't escape anything over there. You're completely behest of, you'd be thrown out on the street for a wrong comment. Never to have a home again, never to be warm, never to have food again. You're eating rats out on the street with all the other thousands of people that are competing for the same rats to eat them raw because you can't cook anything. You don't have any way to live, just for a bad tweet. So that's what I'm saying, make things, make it thankful and grateful. Infinity. Now, we're in the second hour here and we come on. I wanted to talk about the new money, but just to prime this up for you, because I want you to get excited about coming back here for second hour. Infinity. We know this sign, this symbol. We've seen it. We understand it. But how does it fit into the new money system is the question. And there's where, like I said, I just ditched the news this week and I was just focused on extreme weather news. That's all I just surfed, those extreme weather news channels and money. That's it. These two things were my focus. So infinity. And then, where are we now? This is what the tech stocks, after their record highs, MicroStrategy down 80%, Coinbase down 66%, Netflix, Palantir, Microsoft, Broadcom. Those are some massive losses. I don't even see Amazon on there, but Amazon was down 30%. So if you look at that, Magnificent Seven has lost at least 3 trillion so far, just since a few weeks back. I should say about a month or so. So you can see the money is moving somewhere else. It's being taken out here, used to elsewhere for just a minute. So the annularium, I don't know if anybody's familiar with the annularium. It is the infinity symbol. It serves as a center point. There's something in the center point where those two cross, as they call it, the 0 mile. Now, this was established in Rome in 20 BC. Rome is the center, always has been the center. The Vatican is there. The Vatican is the center of all money, the way we consider money on the planet in the modern day. Even back with Sumeria, you still reference to that point being as a post itself away from Sumeria. So they call this the Malarium Arium, or the Annularium, with the interplay of the words. All roads lead to Rome is where this comes from, this intersection point of the 0 mile. And, this is Fortuna, fortune, that same base word. This is the goddess that was, well, supposedly in the center, like that. The iconography is all things from the center. All roads lead to Rome. But this was a combined Sumerian cuneiform from their original. It wasn't even Ishtar. It was a different type of reference that something is infinite, that it stems from somewhere. All things lead from it. They come back, they loop, they don't destroy, they're continuously interlooping. And here is your Annularium in Rome itself. Now, this thing, you got to realize, this thing was built in 20 BC. So look at the artmanship and the craftsmanship on this thing. 20 BC. Not a birth of Christ, not even yet. And they're putting this sort of thing just in the middle of Rome as the seed point, the center point. So this is very important that, where did this thing come from? It's highly complex. And you look, I'll zoom in for you because I was looking at this and saying, they carved that? Come on now. That's in pieces of granite. Were their tools even strong enough back then to carve into solid granite at that point? If it was, it'd be rudimentary. And I think this might be a re-rendering of the original, which is obviously in somebody else's hands. So a couple, there's another closer in for you here. You can see behind the facade that somebody had redone this. So I'm wondering where the original is, because it just didn't get destroyed and broken. If it did, people would have taken pieces and shards of the original, and apparently it was as quality as anything that we see in Angkor Wat, with like that polished granite faces, these sort of things. This is incredibly complex, but they were supposed to have chiseled this out of a solid piece of granite and erected it as a carved obelisk in a circular form as the seed point of the center point of all centers. And I'm like, okay. So if we look at the Byzantine era and then you come past a little bit, we still have Rome in that crossover period, say 200 AD. But if you're going to loop out from that, at the ends of that infinity symbol, the very center crossing piece, all roads lead to Rome. That's where Rome is, that center. But you're going to have an equidistant further out that is the, I wouldn't say capitulation point, but I would say the movement of. So if we come into Constantinople, which was what we today think of in Turkey there, in Istanbul, in Carthage, in the western area, was what today is we know as Tunisia. Then we start to look at, I asked, Grok to throw me this in an annularium fashion here. So if you're looking at the infinity symbol, we're looking at Rome in the center here, Constantinople to the one side, Carthage. This actually should be down in Tunisia there, not exactly southern Spain, but close enough. We get this annularium. This is what, shortly after what would be the birth of Christ time. Now, if we come up to the modern era here, this spreads wide because we have a global culture now. So the eastern edge of the annularium is Hong Kong, Canton. Western loop is New York. The infinite cycle never ceases, eternal symbology of never ending, infinite cycle of power and money oscillating and moving from point to point around this planet. It never ends. It never ceases. It shifts. It moves. And if we go to a wider out today, Hong Kong, New York, and Rome still in the center of it. What do we know about Hong Kong? Guangdong, Canton. Hence, when you see Canton coin, you start to go, huh. This thing never ends. You should see the graphics of their gifts. I wish I had a moving one here. It is a moving annularium. It is an annularium infinity symbol in perpetual motion that never folds in on itself. It always continues that structure of continuous movement in continuous motion, as we see with financial markets moving from point to point on the planet. Canton coin. This is the bedrock. This is the privacy layer of the entire financial system that's evolving, of everything that we know from SWIFT and private banking and governments moving with their bonds and secret bank accounts and all these things. That's this right now reforming to carry the entire world's financial transactions in a privacy fashion. This one and midnight, those two. And that's what I wanted to talk about when we come back from the break. But please remember, civilizationcycle.com. Check out the newsletter. I sent that out just before this evening. I had a little bit different style and putting a chart of the week up there with some different thoughts from Ransom and myself, just a quick 1 to 2 lines, and then the bullet points of what we spoke about. So we're trying to, add it into a little bit of more narrative style with some graphics for you to remember. It was the hyperinflation chart of Weimar Republic with the inflation chart of silver, and they very much match. So if you bring it back in a little bit, it looks like that third spike is right now, and that would have been the third spike in Weimar Germany in, say, late 2020 or 1923 Christmas era, just before it took off to the $1 trillion gold mark. It seems that that final third pullback with silver is where we sit if we're going to map those up in history. So that was the chart of the week that I had included in that. So feel free, hit that QR code right there, sign up for the show notes, absolutely free. It's just for us to put out the information so you can start this conversation with other people, because we're all in this together. We're on the same planet as you are. We're living in some of the same countries you are. We're all in this together. Like, there's nowhere to run. We have to work through this together. So to have these conversations about how to start getting ready and what to expect, and also these bullet points for people, you could start conversations with your friends because maybe they're thinking the same thing. Maybe your family members are thinking the same thing, but you just don't know. To bring it up in a casual fashion, like, the bullet point. And then you can do your own research and your own information. So anyway, that is absolutely free, this newsletter. Send it out weekly after our shows here. And we're going to be taking a couple minutes break with products we love and we think will enhance your life. That's why they are our sponsors. So Ransom, we'll be back in 2 minutes. Hey everyone, are you ready to grow your own fresh, delicious vegetables, herbs, and flowers this season? If you're looking for the highest quality heirloom and organic seeds, I've got the perfect company for you, True Leaf Market. They've been a trusted seed company since 1974, offering 3,000 types of non-GMO varieties, everything from classic heirloom tomatoes and peppers to rare herbs, microgreens, sprouting seeds, and beautiful flowers. All those seeds are open pollinated, pure, and perfect for home gardeners or anyone wanting healthy, flavorful produce without chemicals. What I love the most is their huge selection, fast shipping guarantees, plus options for bulk if you're going big. If you're excited to start your garden this year with real, authentic heirloom and organic seeds, click the link in the description box below to check out TrueLeafMarket.com. You won't regret it. Happy planting, and thank you for supporting the channel and this broadcast. Product you love, the 72-hour emergency food kit from My Patriot Supply. Not only emergency food, but camping food, and you can prepare that through the week as well. 20 delicious just add water meals. Think about creamy mac and cheese, hearty chili, sweet oatmeal. 2,000 calories a day. You need the calories. You're going to need to think and move. And the mashed potatoes, easier to make than oats, and you can add your own flavors. Goes with anything. For less than a couple of takeout meals at a fast food restaurant, get real peace of mind. And a real question to ask, how long could your family eat without leaving home? My Patriot Supply, click on that link in the description box below. It helps the channel. Truth is hard to say and hard to hear. Most people choose silence. We choose to speak. Your support of our sponsor keeps the Civilization Cycle podcast on air and giving us the courage to keep digging. That link's in the description box below. This is not a toothpaste. It's a revolution for your teeth. Remineralize, strengthen teeth, all natural ingredients, essential oils, minerals, salts, Alpha Vedic Dental Solutions System. That's alphavedic.com/civilization. You know, we're always trying to bring you the best products here that we think will enhance your life, especially if supply chains break down further, or if there's some disruption in our lives here. It seems in the news more and more possible, but hey, who knows? Maybe it's a mind game. But what is not is keeping your dental health up. And not a lot of people are talking about this. We always see the storable foods. But what about dental care during these same emergency situations? Will your toothpaste eventually run out? Well, if it does, then what? So, like I say, this whole micro gut biome is driven by your oral cavity first. So take a look at what they have, alphavedic.com/civilization. Every purchase you make helps keep our live radio show and podcast on air, bringing you more information just like this. alphavedic.com/civilization. That link is in the show notes below. And as always, I appreciate your valuable time and joining us in this ever and most important conversation as we move forward in our world.
Please remember to sign up for our show notes. With Civilization Cycle podcast, you can learn what to expect as society resets. Agriculture, economy, tech, and history all have mappable cycles, and these cycles affect every aspect of our lives. We can navigate the chaos and thrive together with up-to-date news and information. Also, if you like the content we have here on Civilization Cycle, think about fueling the discussions and the show by buying us a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/civilization cycle. And thank you for all the support.
And welcome back for the second hour right here, Civilization Cycle podcast. Yeah, please sign up for those show notes, absolutely free. And as we start the hour, I'm going to be diving in more about the Canton coin. Polymarket also, there's another one called Rain that's out there. Once the Genius Act and this Clarity Act and all these things are signed into law, there's going to be some regulation on what is like the betting market type of thing. Since Polymarket doesn't have a token and Rain is the number 2 for that, that is going to be the one that already has an established art. They already have a token, and you could expect something. Everybody's waiting for this Clarity Act to come in, right? So again, with the comet coming through, it would not surprise me. Everybody's looking at the sky. They're going to pass all the crypto legislation. So back over here, buymeacoffee.com/civilization cycle. Need to get that on the screen. Excuse me. How can I be so lazy on that one? Let's see. Share the screen. Bring it up. What do we have? Love reading the comments. Thanks for all you do, Ransom David. Thank you, David Campbell. We're trying to bring it to you. Fruit tree pruning and dormant oil application, wearing short sleeves this week. Zone 6 weather is changing. Yeah, I was out looking at my fruit trees today too, going, it's already getting to the end of February. I need to get out there and start trimming them, but we're zoned down 7B. So a little bit further down. I need to get on that trimming because I could already see some little bit green coming out, but that's the problem because the early blooming the plums, we get massive amounts of early blooms. They set little tiny fruit, and then the freeze comes in, and we've lost all of our plums for the last 2 years in a row. After we had like thousands on the tree, thousands, really makes me like, we're gonna have to get some better netting out there. Jerry with an AJ, I sincerely appreciate the hours of work you both put into the channel and podcast. I've told several people about you. Check out Billy Crone on YouTube. For many years, he's been ahead of his time, talking about the Bible prophecy, UFOs, and AI. His last 2 books are definitely worth checking out. Yeah, it does seem like we are into the AI UFO kind of world deal here. I don't know. Ransom, what are you thinking about all the UFOs and everything that's coming about these days?
I think it's just leading everybody to be distracted away from the reset. I think that's all it is. And they know that people on planet Earth have cabin fever, and they're going to have to exploit that in some way. I think that's how they're going to do it. I don't know if you saw the news out of China. They have this satellite that's supposed to shoot down the Starlinks over the Ukraine. So they're threatening to do that. We're moving into the space wars. And like I was saying, we're also moving into mining stuff. The countries are scrambling to put their own data centers on the moon. And, you got Elon Musk talking about nonstop satellites being launched off the moon with a mass driver. And I think they're all serious about what they're doing. That's the epic we're going into. And they're just using AI for a babysitter.
Yeah, I would agree on that. But some of these symbols are old.
Right.
This is the original infinity symbol and what the occultists use here. As we understand an infinity symbol, it doesn't have that line through it, but the old occultism does. It's showing you the swing out and the swing in around. This is so old that it's showing you the precession of the equinoxes within the infinity, within the never-ending movement of it. So this is where this was directing off the pole. So they're putting the encoded information together in. That's why it's so grainy. I couldn't really get the best of pictures, but where did I grab that from is the question. Yeah, building the future on Canton Network. That's where I got that from. This distraction while everything is being reset is happening in front of your eyes. So think about all money the way it moves currently. We got all the banks. We got all of any kind of way you can move money from all these money apps. You got countries transferring money. You got businesses and corporations paying all their employees. You have what you do with your own private bank. All this is moving to some sort of digitization and assets on the blockchain. Everything's going to be moving around where the way it's done now, you can track and trace every nickel of it. Companies don't want that. You can see what they're doing. You can see how much they're paying their employees. You can see how much I would get paid. You can see so many things, right? But see, the transition of money in the 1750s brings us up to the Opium War here with England in Canton. So it's apropos that they would use the word Canton to take out the furthest edge of the analemma that is equidistant with New York off of Rome, the center point. So that's the whole thing. We're talking about the same money again. You see how London's interlooped in on this, and they're using the same. Once you start to see the matchups in history, who is responsible for what? If you have a little bit of knowledge about the past, you can start to see where this is leading us to in the future. Now, this is no way, shape, or form financial advice. This is just digging through history, looking at how money moved from the tulips forward through the first time checks were written, the first time fractional gold lending occurred in Amsterdam. It's just following the money through centuries, from what was gold and silver to paper checks, instruments, different types of treasury notes, debt, like all this modern money movement. That's all, in the SWIFT system, and numbers and numbered bonds and all of that. Just follow money through history. That's all I'm really doing. This is not financial advice. I'm just a history lesson here. Connecting in with the very in-your-face messaging of Guangdong Canton is connected into and was connected from the British financial institutions. But at the same time, the analemma at one point was Rome, London, Constantinople, or Istanbul, or Jerusalem, if you want to look at it that way on the spiritual sense of it. Because the spiritual edge of it, where Jerusalem was a spiritual center, London was a, center as it is, there was a balance on that too. So again, the analemma of today's current swing is furthest point east, Hong Kong, furthest point west, New York, center point, Rome. So you look at that and go, all right. If it's not exactly New York, then it could be Denver. All right. So you look into the equilibrium on this, but you notice how this analemma had expanded in time. This is the whole thing to look at here. Another thing about the financial system that they need to, this is a super important chart. It's like one of the most important you'll ever see. The thing about that has stopped all financial systems diving in on the crypto space is this volatility. Like look way back in 2015, 90% drop. Banks can't deal with that. Investors can't deal with that. So the number one thing is removing the volatility out of the entire system. And what do you see? I see shrinking volatility on both the up and the down. And rightfully so, as was mentioned, the next halving comes in 2028. By that point, I would say that this is going to squeeze even further, because if we bring it down 4 more years, that amount of volatility is going to shrink. It's probably going to be 3 times less than it is now. Another halving in like 2032, and that will be right in the 1 to 2% range that we're used to right now. So financial institutions have completely grabbed and totally usurped all usage of any cryptocurrency. If it's not in their midst, they want to destroy it. They're going to destroy it through compliance is the best term. ISO 20022 tokens, XRP, obviously everybody hear about that. Okay, nobody's hearing about Canton or Midnight. They're all privacy for big institutions. You and me, the only reason we're allowed in now because it's so early. Once they get it on the rails, they're probably going to keep it more closed off to general public. But again, you look at XRP and hardly anybody owns that comparatively. Like in the whole crypto space, there's only a very few % of people that own XRP or stellar lumens. If these tokens, like if you go to XTC network, like who the hell owns XTC network? It's like 3 cents. Nobody. These are the major payment rails that it's going to run through. So, it's early now. And again, the volatility, what do you see here? Now, this is every transaction in the Bitcoin ecosystem that has ever occurred on a heat map. What do you see? I see less and less and less volatility. The spread of volatility is tightening. So in these gigantic swings up, like we used to be used to, where it went from 1,000 to like 20,000, like a 20x rise, we didn't have the 20x rise from like 50,000 to 1 million in this last sweep. It went from that price up to like 125. Okay, that volatility really crashed. It was only like a 2.5. As we move forward, it's going to be, they're going to remove the volatility out of it, but it's going to be a steady trajectory of, 1 to 2%, maybe 5% some years, but it's going to be very steady once the control's already being maintained and taken total control of this system already. The next move is they have to get it on the compliance. They have to have rules for it, and it needs to be private. So I saw somebody earlier in the comments mentioning the DTCC. This is the basically clearinghouse for all treasury bonds. Anything moving treasury wise clears through this. Tokenized treasuries are all rocking through. Now, where is Canton sit in this? Oh, their network is every single treasury bond bought or sold from the American government's going through their system now, through the DTCC, clearing and using Canton as its privacy and settlement layer. Now, Midnight also, NIGHT, not financial advice, but this is another one. You got to look, where's the big money moving and what do they require for big money to move? Privacy. And you can see Midnight, shielding data and metadata. And they're using ZK wrap-ups with that. And that's another big one. You got to start, ZK is where they're going to move to. It's just another protocol that they can wrap things on their own main nets. So as we move forward with this, CZ, our favorite Binance trillionaire almost, what does he say? Lack of privacy may be the missing link for crypto payments adoption. Oh, really? You mean these two settlement and tokens that can run the entire financial system and give you what? Privacy. So he is telling you already what tokens are going to be used by telling you what the main use of the tokens will be. There's a little shadow game in here. Imagine a company pays employees in crypto on chain. Well, right now, if you do, I know how much you make. I know where it goes. I know your wallet address. You spend out of that wallet address. I know exactly where it goes. If you switch into stable coins, I know where you did it. You went to Coinbase. I know where you exited it. And then from that point, government can always follow you out of the exit into your bank, into your regular bank. So we know where you're. And if you know what that wallet address is and where that connects to a bank, then I know what bank you use. See, that was the whole thing about blockchain. It was supposed to stop all of this, what we saw with the Einstein files. It was supposed to stop all of this corruption because there would be no more corruption. There'd be no way to pay politicians under the table. That was the whole point. That was just so wonderful about this. You could track everything. But again, where do we sit? Current state of crypto, you can pretty much see how much companies being paid, or how much each company is paying each other, or how much governments are paying, or what are the military contracts. We could see all this front and face, but that's the whole thing. They need the privacy layer on it. I got 2 more slides for you. So Canton Coin and Midnight, these are the 2: data protection and institutional real world utility. And we'll dive into the websites here in a second to take a look. All right, so this is the Canton Foundation. And the validators on the outside, there's 550 more of these. Most of them are large banks that are not included on this. They didn't want to be included. They're in the validators, but they don't want you to know who they are. But if you go to the website and dig around enough, you can find out who they are. So this is the rails of the new ecosystem. And as your cost of living increases, there's got to be some balance somewhere, right? So if you're able to figure out where the money is moving to, and Ransom, I just might add one more thing here if I could. Let me dive into the Canton thing here. I want to show you what we got. Oh, there we go. Let me share this screen. If I can find it next to this one will blow your mind when you see who is in on it right here. Wait a second, not keyring. Hold on. There's the ecosystem. All right. So when we're looking at, and you can plug in on their thing here, look how many partners they're working with. Now, these are all individuals, whether it be industries, market infrastructure, providers. I just decided to look at the financial instruments and payments. There's 220 large institutions working with Canton so far. So I want to see if you recognize any of these. Now the A's, there's not too many big hitters. I mean, there's a few of them, but then we find Bank of America and Bank of China.
Right.
Yeah, and then we find Binance is with them. Okay.
Binance,
Bitcoin Suisse is Credit Suisse's arm of all the crypto stuff. And then you swing, BNY and BNY, another bank, and then BNP Paribas, that's another oil company. And then you got British Petroleum working with them too. And then you start to go, who is this? Who's working with these guys here? And this is the Castlemont Commodities, very large, wouldn't say exactly like the CME, but similar. Chainlink, which is its own.
Right.
Citibank and Circle, both with their own stable coins already pushing through. Consumers Bank AG, that's another one. Crypto.com, they allow you to come in and out of crypto. So they're a banking finance arm. Credit Agricole, that's another big bank right there. And then Deloitte is working with them, and they're going to use their settlement layer also. And as you come down, you start to look at the Euroclear. This is a global financial leading clearinghouse all through Europe. That's why it's called Global or Euroclear. Easily as big as any of the largest stock market clearing firms in North America as well. So you start, Franklin Templeton's also using their services. Like, everybody wants to be anonymous in this thing. Gemini, that's another huge one in the Goldman Sachs, the main funding partners on here too. HSBC is with it. Then you start to get into these huge, we're talking trillions of dollars here in capital value already and then JP Morgan's using their system, and it just goes on and on. These are only in the K's. Koch Energy, that's a multi-billion-dollar company too. KPMG Financial, that's accounting behemoth there. And if you swing down, let's see who else is Maestro. Oh, that's just a data platform. Who else is here? Moat Capital, Moody's, the financial regulators. Morgan Stanley's also using their services. NASDAQ is clearing through them as well. Like, just the amount of just monster financial behemoths that are using their tokens right now is just off the hook. And you look at, this is just the beginning of it too. Why do they want to use it? Because they need to privacy. That's
Shell.
Societe Generale is in there. Texture
So-
Capital. Who else do we got on some big banks down here?
I saw a Shell company up there too.
Did you see Shell?
Back on the left.
As in KURS. Oh,
Right
yeah,
there.
Shell North America. Yep. So if you look at how much institutional money is already using this system here, and then I started to look down and said, all right, privacy remains one of the thorniest. Oh, let me share this tab. Privacy remains one of the thorniest challenges for institutional blockchain, especially in regulated markets. So they're killing two birds with one stone. Regulated markets, and they also are going to be offering regulatory compliance with all their industry players. I wouldn't say anonymously, but privately. So then we got these, there we go. We got the Z's again, the roll-ups, they're all in on this together. They've been working on these, and the interoperability of it all allows everything to settle in seconds across the world's largest companies and banks in seconds, privately. Integrated with the operational realities in financial markets and global payments. This is where we sit.
That means companies can disappear or collapse instantly as well.
So true. But would it make news, though? That's the question.
No, probably not.
Yeah. So anyway, and let me blow your mind one more time here. I'm going to share the screen again. Let's go into Midnight and take a look what they got going on here. So Midnight, if you're not familiar with them, they are the next in line of this same type of system. So here we are. Midnight is a privacy-first blockchain that blends public verifiability and confidential data handling. So they are sensitive data, share information only with who uses it, and private compliance, private record keeping. So this is what all these bigs, I like to call them the bigs, that's what they all need. Has to be, let's see, a certain level of privacy and completely compliant, like nothing in the Wild West like crypto was. Engineered for rational privacy. And you say, all right, well, you can just chase this down here. Now follow the breadcrumbs with me on Midnight. This is interesting as it gets. Unlock the full potential of, they're starting to use these terms like Web3, but don't let that scare you. So here, Midnight's a fourth generation blockchain empowering organizations to deliver regulation-friendly data protecting applications. Right. Yeah, those zeros. Yeah, they're going to keep pushing it forward. Friendly. Yeah, and then here's another thing. Like if you follow Midnight and you start to look at some of their major, let's say, platforms, like they're working on Atlas. You know, Atlas, the thing holding up the world. Yeah, that's actually the name of one of their decentralized finance platforms that's going to take away Uniswap and Aave and all these others. They're going to regulate the shit out of those platforms where you're going to be forced, just like you are forced today to show an ID to open a bank account. They're going to force you into this DeFi world that they control. This is the main #1 institutional DeFi that's being built out right now on this platform.
There's your infinity symbol too.
Oh, that is on Begin. Yeah, there it is. I didn't even, hey, good call, man. I'm glad you're with me. Because I was looking at Keyring over here. And again, what is it? It's the intersection of traditional finance, blockchain finance, institutional grade gateways. Institution, you're following the institution money. So I thought, all right, what's Keyring Network? And I thought, all right, well, let me jump in here. I'm one of those guys. I do that stuff all the time. I'll just follow it. And what do you find? The compliant pools again. Damn, those ZK wrap-ups are there once again. Like this all just blends into an infinity. It just rolling. It never stops. It's one financial organization rolling into different compliance systems over interlooped with itself of this newest type of finance. And especially when they start to do this with like central bank digital currencies, for example. Do you think governments want you to know how much they're minting?
No.
Hell no. That's going to be all privacy-based stuff. That's why it's so important that all these protocols are ready. So when the trillions of new minted money come rolling out, that they're not traceable, that they're private. That's the whole thing about it. We're just being swept into a new system. But what is the base of the system? Well, the base of the system, at least as far as I can see, is at least two layers of it are these two here. Now, once midnight comes off and goes fully operational here, and I do believe they were going to do that next month, then there might be some more usage for that. Now, Canton Coin was up 20% this last week because they are starting to go live on Canton right as we speak. I don't know what else to say, man. There's not much else to say except that this is a new financial system here. And if you kind of see where the money is going, perhaps with our lucky little seeing into it at a few cents per token, not financial advice by any means, but you saw what happened with XRP. It was like 5 cents, then it was 25 cents, then it was $3. It's the very same thing. You're starting to look at these tokens. They're starting to really get a lot more people dissecting how the burns are, how the mintings are on these CC tokens. God, you see how many trillions of dollars of cap on these, of all those companies and banks are in this system already. They're just waiting for the last couple. You know what they're all waiting for is they're all waiting for this Clarity Act to pass. Like once Clarity Act passes, everybody will know exactly what they can do. And it's going to be off to the races. And unfortunately for us, if you were in crypto early, you're going to get stuck into a regulated world. Even though it was a deregulated world when you got in, you're going to get stuck into the regulated. They're not going to let you move any money without knowing who you are, without you paying your taxes, without those days of like flip. They're even now they're arresting people like me and like let's say I gave ransom like $3,000 worth of Bitcoin for some reason, even though I don't have any Bitcoin. If I did, I gave ransom some. I would be considered an unregulated money transference company, and I would be arrested for money transference without a license, not money laundering, just transferring money and acting as a transfer agent without a license. That's how crazy it is now. We're going to get regulated out of existence here, so get ready for it. So just you can position yourself in certain ways. Now, those of you who like Monero and Pirate Chain, good luck.
So I wonder how, you pointed out that symbolism. That's really something that I've been in. So there's a really common theme throughout human history where you have a serpent culture, might be represented different. So you were showing that infinity symbol earlier with the staff through it or the line through it. And that's what you see right here. This is
exactly this shit. Good call, man.
This
You're
is
finding
one of
these little nuggets
well,
two
it's
great minds putting it together here for you tonight.
One of Earth's oldest logos. This is Inky's Brotherhood of the Snake. It's where we get our medical, and the medical's all tied into the finance, but it's where we get those symbols of the staff and the two little snakes. It's also sometimes, people say, hey, that's way too far out there. It looks like that's a double helix DNA, which also goes into the medical thing. But what I was referring is you always have these serpent dragon cultures around the world throughout history that surpass everyone else in technology for a short time. And then you get the other faction of the eagle that comes and destroys it. And this is a cycle that's been done over and over again. And I know we've talked about it before, but the main one that you can kind of picture in today's world, you can go back in time and you can say, look, there were the Mayans. They inherited a culture from an older culture, but they started building stuff, getting into sciences. And then this Stone Age culture of the bird people or the eagle people, the Aztec, move in. They spread their cult of the Quetzalcoatl, and the whole thing collapses. And then you have a new system under the eagle. The same thing happened in Europe. You had the Druids that would go out through the Celtic and Gaelic and Germanic tribes of Northern Europe, and they could have also been considered a serpent culture. And then who comes and destroys them? The Romans. And what do the Romans have as their emblem? Is a giant eagle that comes in, destroys the snake. Now, there's other examples of this around the world throughout history, but it's a repeating cycle of seemingly two factions, or maybe the same faction, of the infinite build and destroy cycle. So right now in today's world, you have China, that's the dragon, that's the serpent culture. And right now they're exceeding and accelerating in technological advance. And then over here on the other side of the world, we have the eagle that also wants to advance technologically. And it seems that we're having this kind of in battle right at the same time as they're going to, distract you with so much stuff that it's going to be impossible to understand the new system for the layman because it's too complicated, convoluted, and hidden. And that's exactly what you were talking about with that software, where the big people, the big parties, they get privacy. But you, the little guy, you get completely tracked and traced and taxed on every shekel.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I could roll back, I wanted to show you a couple of different wallets because you were into the iconography. It's not so much about the wallets and the tech or anything. I mean, anybody can. But here's the thing about Canton: like you just can't get a wallet. You have to actually ask them if you can get one. Now they say it's self custody and that sort of thing, but do you really believe it? Here, let's wide this out for a second. Now, all I want to do is go to the iconography in these things here. So let me go to the Hydra X first for us. And I just want you to look at the logos. So top left is the logo, but look who controls this one, the Monetary Authority of Singapore. Okay. Well, look at the Hydra X. What do we see?
It's the cube.
It's the cube.
It's the asterisk. It's the 8-sided pyramid. It depends on how you look at it. Like I'm wired to look at the sacred geometry and emblems. So that's equal proportions there. That's showing you a pyramid. Or if you look into it three-dimensionally, when you go from either the staff with the serpents there or a pyramid with two pillars next to it, when you look at the pyramid, it also resembles a road that ends in enlightenment, right? So it's big at the base, it's small at the end. This is also one of those symbols right there. And all of those equate back to the infinity symbol. So if you think about a road to enlightenment is like an unlimited, infinite road, right? And you can see it with all of these logos. I'll show you a bunch of them. The path to enlightenment.
Yeah, let me show you one more and see if you can see the path to whatever this is here.
There's your cube already.
Well, I wanted to share that. Can you see this? What do you see there? Block Daemon?
Yeah. And I see the cube.
Yeah, but it almost says like block demon on that. Like if you misread that a little bit, yeah, you see the cube right there and you see the horns.
Even look at their other emblem of the institutional vault.
Yeah,
it's
right.
Cube within a cube within a cube. It's the sacred geometry.
Yeah. And then you look at the overlay on this too. It's precisely geometry. Like if you just stare in that, you can start to see. Like I would encourage you to maybe go to the right side and just choose somewhere randomly and just look at where the cross lays and breathe for a second. You can see the depth of the cubes going further down in there. It's like three-dimensional overlay. It's sacred geometry for sure in that. Like if you just look at that, you can almost see Meteron's cube in the design of this overlay here.
Right.
Like this is just the institutional wallets that they're showing you. It's not like this is where this system lies.
And remember logos, and that one right there, the zodiac, that is Orion's belt.
Yeah, I can't.
You look in the left-hand corner there.
I can't get this thing to come down. I don't know why. Get on there.
Here, we'll do this. We'll
Oh, there it is. You think that's Orion's belt right there?
Yeah, I know that.
It does look like Orion to me.
Well, it's the hourglass that if you look up at Orion's belt, it makes, and you find that this is a very common petroglyph as well.
Yeah, and again, if you were to wrap those over on the other side too and take a look at it, like it's almost as if it's a pyramid that's been bent up into a forward flat shape. If you were to pull those back down again, you would have a pyramid, wouldn't you? You'd have a double. You'd at least, so for me, you're looking at male and female, and the most ancient of signs and iconography, like the very first symbols for man and woman were triangles.
Yes.
And the union of man and woman right there is at that center point. And that's where birth, life itself sparks from. But if you look at the very, very, very first symbols that were ever represented as man and woman, they were the triangle.
Right. And when they when they go together. It's also alchemic symbols of earth and water, I believe. No, air, maybe air and water, or air and earth.
So,
One of the two.
so who's using this wallet for custody? Oh, there's Standard Charter. Oh, there's SBI. Oh, there's Emirates. Yay. So there's some big players in this just using and controlling and
And they all
understanding custody in these wallets too. Like these are the wallets that are made for these banks. That's why you have to get permission to use this wallet. Like most wallets, you just like crank up and put a password in and then you're good to go, right?
Well, this is where you get kind of into spells and logos, like as the word of God, logos. And now it's become a dollar sign.
And BitGo. So if you look at that one, now those are the institutional wallets right there. And the enterprise self-custody means big, huge companies can have their own. Here's one called Taurus, which is pretty interesting. The bull, right?
Right.
No, you really don't see much on here except Deutsche Bank, Visa. Who else is down there with them? Swiss Quote. So you're over in the Swiss banking system there.
You know what's funny is they've added that little line up on the T on Taurus,
Yeah, did you see that?
which turns it into the edge of a cube again.
Oh, it does, doesn't it?
They always put that there.
Yeah, now this is institutional custody. So like, let's say you're Shell Oil and you want to have your own wallet with this so you could pay your fees and you could get all this out yourself. That's what this means here. Enterprise self-custody. That's what that means.
Here, check this out.
Yeah, throw it on there. I'm curious because, you can see all these different symbols within this ecosystem. You can't tell me that it's just random happenstance that all this sacred geometry, all this ancient knowledge is all encoded into this same new system that's coming online here.
And somebody said do an instruction video on how to decipher logos, but here's one kind of easy, and you'll find this is kind of related to what we're talking about in the logos. If I play this, just look at the different versions of cube, which a cube represents space. It represents going to a destination, and it also is represented in all of the old petroglyphs, the old cuneiform. It's all the cube. It's sacred geometry. And when you start looking at the logos, you'll realize they stole all of these old ideas from the past. And it goes like there. You saw that square. That's the same shape as the 8-sided pyramid in Giza. It's the square hidden in everything. And usually they use an asterisk to show it. See, these are old cuneiform. It's the astrology, the precession of the equinox. Every shape fits into the cube.
And that's the Rosicrucian original cross there too that you had.
Right. There it is. There's the asterisk. The asterisk is everywhere, but really it's just a cube, which you see this in Egypt, and the middle part of it's a cube. There it is. It's 3-dimensional space moving forward. And you find this everywhere. So if you know what this map is, this Cartesian map, it's how you go through space and know where you're at, but not just outer space, but inner space. This is what they use in your face all the time. It's part of the way that they brainwash people.
If you don't know what their symbology means, but once you start to decode and get into that world, then you can take a look at who is, trying to manipulate you.
It's like I've been doing a lot of studying on this pyramid right behind me. This is at Teotihuacan. This is the Pyramid of the Sun. But if you look at the layout of the complex, this actually represents Jupiter. And down there by Quetzalcoatl's temple is the sun, and it's the whole solar system of where we live. So it's another place that's connected right to space. But what's weird is this whole complex has been covered up. And I mean, a long time ago, they covered it up because whatever reason, they decided to cover up the pyramids that were there before it.
Yeah, I saw some Graham Hancock things where they'd gone in and showed...
there it is.
The different layerings of the temples built on top of the temples built on top of the temples.
Yeah. It's one civilization that comes and decides the new civilization doesn't need to know all of these sacred ideas.
You see a cube there? I don't know. Maybe I need my glasses.
That is definitely a cube that's 3 cubes, but it also, you see the asterisk.
Yeah, it's very clean where you can see it right there, huh?
Yep.
They kind of outlined it so you could definitely see it clearly.
Yeah. And then it
Yeah, like
it goes
this.
on and on. Like, think about the movies you watch. Universal, they show the planet, and then you got Lionsgate, things like that. They're all, matter of fact, look at that umbrella right there at the corner. They put it in there too. See?
Yeah, oh, they
There's
did
your
right
cube.
there, huh? Yeah, right there. Everywhere. I was just focused on the top left on the actual, you can look, see that C, the CC right there again, it's all interconnected with this Canton coin. So
Right.
this is like the oldest traditions and the oldest money on earth, just telling you flat out that this is the new system. If it's not any more, evident than this, I don't know really what you might need is some sort of fire blocks. I'm sure it's cube shape. Yeah, of course it is. Cube with the pyramid in it.
Well, almost all logos are equal geometry. So even if they're different shapes, if you put the Fibonacci sequence and things like that, they use that to make everything, especially the cube.
Yeah. So they've only done 10 trillion in transactions so far on this.
Only 10 trillion.
Only 10 trillion. But there's quadrillions of dollars in the world running around. So when you look at that, is it really a lot? I don't know. Fire blocks for you. And then, when you come down to your own self custody wallets here, I'm wondering what Send is.
This almost seems like the perfect system if you were an alien government and you wanted to move in on a planet and you needed a system that valued and tracked every last single item and resource on the planet and digitized it in a way where you could just click on each individual person and find out what kind of resources they have specifically. You could add up the total of the planet.
Well, that's the whole thing about digitizing every single thing that's out there. There you go. But the digitization of everything.
I was looking at the logo again. I couldn't help it.
Yeah, you must. I was hoping that I could wide that out for you there.
Yeah, you see your pyramid with your all-seeing eye. There's your path to enlightenment.
Right. Oh, gee, you're just building it up for me, Rance. Yeah. So, you look at this in just a wider context, that the world we're moving into is no longer going to be you have something private that you can hold and people don't know what you have. They're going to digitize even down to this paper clip. They're going to digitize. There's value in this paper clip, whether it be 1 cent or 2 cents, 5 cents, depending on the metal. They're going to want to know every single thing that you have, everything. They may even want to have this controller for the speaker. Now, do they want the piece of plastic? No, but there's metal value in this. There's copper in it. Everything in the world is going to have a value associated with it. And you so rightly showed that would be the best way to track everything. Like, what type of trading culture would that be on a extraterrestrial type of race that would need to know where everything was to be able to do a bookkeeping type thing, to be able to then interact and transact with our banking species down here on the planet?
I don't know. It just seems, quite obvious that they're making this digital system to track everything for someone. So it doesn't really matter if it's aliens or the elite at the top of it. It shows you that the era that we're moving into is going to be completely blueprinted and micromanaged. And that doesn't really fit with the idea of freedom.
Freedom for the mind, cubensis.
Right.
Well, that was a cube in a cube in a cube. That is cubensis. So just keep in mind, everybody out there, we're not trying to be, in a scary type of thing here. It's just the world we're moving into is this. They are going to start tracking, and there's going to be a lot more control moving forward of money control, movement, what you own for assets. In the beginning, they're going to be very kind with it because they want you in the system. They want you to be like, hell yeah, I want to go in that system. As I getting 2 times or 1.5 more than I'm getting in this old system. I love this new system. I'm getting free things. I could buy more. I only have to work half as much. In the beginning, they're going to want you to spend the equity out of your house. They're going to want you to spend the equity out of your automobile. But then once that's used up, see, that's the whole thing is once that's used up, then what?
Your government will give you some financial assistance to close up your accounts like they're doing in Canada.
Yeah, right. Loose
That's going to
ends.
move. There's actually 13 states now with bills on the books that will make those states like Canada when it comes to that. So they know what they're doing. I think that kind of goes back to the Rex 84 thing is we are liquidating and consolidating all of the resources and wealth, which means that you have to micromanage where people are at. Now, they did this open borders thing for a narrative that they had, a need that they had, but now that's over. Now we're moving on to a new thing. That destabilized a lot of areas, but it built the need for the populations to be distracted with all of these little tribal warfare ideas from state to state, from nation to nation. Meanwhile, like you said, they have this whole backdoor digital system that's already in place for after the riots and the issues of society are over.
Well, talk to
And
me about time. Talk to me about time here for a second. So think about COVID itself. It's started pretty much in 2020. It was like a sliver in 2019, but pretty much 2020, and then it ran its course by 2023, kind of. So you get a good 3 years. People were really pushing back. It was pretty much over by the end of 2023. So let's say a solid 3 years for the COVID thing. Then we come into the open borders thing, and that's been ongoing for how many years now to the point where it upsets society. People complain enough. Supposedly, governments listened to everybody because they cared so much, and then they started shifting direction on that. So, how many years was that? Do you think total?
well,
5?
yeah, almost everything that we're dealing with that was a major change. There was like from 2001 to 2021, and then we started another cycle of mind-blowing, life-changing things that they get people used to. That's the new reality. I actually had an article, we don't have time for it, but it showed thousands of new 2026 videos comparing them to just back in 2021 when most of these AIs went online and started producing media. Now it's indistinguishable from reality, and that was only 5 years, really. All of this change has happened then in that time.
Yeah, I wasn't so much talking about the big change like 9/11 to 2021, but within that, there's those smaller things like tearing down all the statues from previous eras of our history that don't fit in anymore. All the
Again, most of
copper
that
needed to
happened
be
in
molded
2020.
down. That was like 3 years of time too, where the madness swept through. Got to break everything in the past. It was almost like our own cultural revolution at a minor. We had our own cultural revolution here in America for what? And again, you look at was it about 3 years?
Do you
So I'm just
remember
trying to
the
just glimpse the time, like these new things that are unfolding. Can we expect a 3-year duration of each new set of this?
I don't think so. It's going to get exponential. So each time
Mm.
it'll be a shorter cycle. And think about it. Back in 2019, I believe, and the summer of 2020 was the riots, the burnings, the statues getting pulled down, all of that. That was 2020. But if you remember, like in 2019, at the end of that, we had a show where we were talking about, I said, I know that the Masonic groups and everything are going to go ahead with this cultural revolution because they tore down Albert Pike's statue in Washington, D.C. That
Mhm.
thing had been up since the Civil War. And if you know about Albert Pike, so they weren't going to tear him down. He was, one of the only people from the Confederacy to have a shrine and a statue and all of that in Washington, D.C. And there was a reason for it. He was one of the people that wrote the blueprints for the next couple of decades. So they honored him. So when they tore that down, That was a major symbol to the entire world, to all the people paying attention to the occult imagery and stuff, that they were going to let a color revolution happen, a cultural revolution happen. And then we had the rebound, which is right now, which is a government lockdown. So every time they let that out, they give their excuse for more power to lock down. And when we look at these programs that they've set up over the decades, all the way back from the 20s to 2001 to today, you can see that they incrementally gave themselves the power to deal with any one of these situations. So the fact that they let it burn, when they have programs set up in the continuity of government to take care of it, and they've already ruled on it with the Supreme Court, it means they're letting it happen so that you at home are fearful, are like, unsure of the future. That's what it is. And that way they can always come along and offer you the more peaceful, more moderated existence, as long as they get rid of the boogeyman for you. And I think we're about to move into the phase where, they're running out of narratives. They're running out of false flags. They're running out of things that people believe are real. And now they've influenced it with all of this fake stuff at the very same time. And now they can give you a scenario that you could never prove or disprove, which would be like some sort of, all they have to do really is say that they've discovered microbial life, and that changed everything. And they've tested the waters on that for the last 30 years. I think they're finally ready.
Yeah, if I could dovetail on Albert Pike for a second. Also, the Georgia Guidestones were destroyed by some unknown vandal around that same time, right? Like they both were symbiotic. So if you were looking for the destruction of the Georgia Guidestones and the ripping down of the statue of Albert Pike, both same. I would say I can't just remember it off the top of my head, but I would say within a year of each other, right?
But they couldn't find him, even though every area, even in the rural areas, is pinging phones, and there's ring doorbell cameras, which that fit right into what we were talking about right there. There's a complete surveillance net out there, not only the private, but the public sector that volunteered for it. And you're going to believe that these events happen and they don't know who did it?
We got one of these we got those flock cameras coming in our little town of 900 people out here at the edge of the mountains out here. Flocks here already.
Yeah. And I was showing that article while we were talking there for a reason, is that Generation Z, oops, I re-hit it, is the first generation that's recorded to be, in a polite way, dumber than the last generation and the previous generation. So for generations, they've been keeping track of test scores, and at least a good portion of each generation could meet the mathematical and academic levels of the generation before them, at least a good portion of them. This Gen Z is the first gen that could not do that. This is the first generation that's being force-fed AI and having a phone with them at all times to tell them what the truth is, what the fact is. So, if they don't own books and they don't have grandparents anymore, you can tell them whatever you want to tell them and they'll believe it.
Well, that takes our society back then. If you don't have at least the very equivalent to keep it at a baseline of just, okay, no movement forward. We just keep baseline moving forward. We're going to take steps back in terms of our civilization, of anything that you understand in terms of electronics or engineering. But then again, if you go to different cultures around the world, then I'm wondering if it's the same. Like if you were to do the same thing in India or China or Japan compared to American school kids, it's very different,
I think
even in Eastern Europe, like they're really, and it's crazy. They're just, they're like, how can you not let the kids do homework? You get a lot of Eastern European families and they're like, you guys do nothing. You're so lazy over here. How dare you not give homework to our children and things, That's in Eastern Europe, and they're complaining that our kids are, not getting enough homework here.
Well, we've already seen generations of people move here and they get Americanized, they get lethargic, and they get, I don't know what the right word for it is, but they don't get how good they have it. But that's part of the cycle. It's just this time we're going to have AI and robots to replace the intellectual renaissance.
They're getting Gulf Americanized. That's what they're getting.
Gulf Americanized.
Gulf Americanized. Yeah, you think AI is going to come through? Imagine, we've seen all these shows, robots teaching the kids, right? Like how many science fiction movies have we seen where there's a robot teacher standing in front of the children, quite the advanced robot, but still robots are teaching the kids. Computers are talking to the kids. Like you go into any of the Star Trek episodes, you got just voices coming out of the walls.
Right.
Johnny, do your homework. No cheating.
Yeah, that's why I was bringing up that article. Is according to people that work in the industry, they know how advanced it is, and they're warning us that we are being replaced. It's not a rumor. It's not something that's not going to happen, because they know it's happening, because it's happening to them in real time. And then we're just skipping over to this. There's lots of videos of these Chinese robots everywhere. Half of them are AI.
That was the Chinese. Now, let me explain. That was the Chinese New Year performance. So
Right.
when you have like this biggest performance, this is in China. Okay, just China specific. They have these performances, like a 3-hour, 4-hour thing that comes on every Chinese New Year. That they have singers for all the different ages, real famous, some upcoming singers, but they have all these performances that go on, and this is one of them. And this is only 1 year advanced from last year's robots that were just kind of like bouncing around. You could tell they were obviously robots. Now you got to wonder, was it human operators behind these things, or are they autonomous?
I
That's
think
the
they are
question. 'Cause you could have a
autonomous.
human operator behind this, all because Chinese are so good at like working as groups and really timing things down. I mean, you got to give them props for that. I mean, just unbelievable. Remember in the opening Olympics in Beijing, where everybody was in, they were pushing all those cubes and everything. That was all human operated. Remember that?
Right.
That was not computer generated. That was everybody under those things, moving them up and down to make perfect lines. They could have human operators because these what's it, like the Waymo taxis. There's actually a possible human substitute driver in India listening to your conversation while you think you're just
Great.
right. So it's a human operator on the car too in the Waymo taxis, but just at like $5 an hour versus having to pay somebody else union wages.
Remote control.
No healthcare.
No, but
Sit in the desk.
what I was going to say about those robots is they're real. And they really do perform, but the problem is China is putting out both AI videos and real videos about the same robots. So they have videos out there where there's like 1,000 of them running with rifles, but there is a couple of videos where it's real and they do have rifles. So they're really convoluting everything so that you never know what to believe.
Last comment here for us tonight. I wish you could grow moringa from seed on your property. We can, but it's just going to be an annual because it does get too cold. But if you start growing it in, let's say, late June when it's warm enough, it'll grow through July, through August, into early September. It'll come to seed, which once the flowers come, you can use those for a tea, which is highly medicinal for the tea. The sticks that come off them, they call them drumsticks. Like the seeds inside there, you can crush for an oil. Moringa oil is higher than macadamia nut oil for price. And you can also eat the sticks while they're green too. You can chop them. I've studied and worked with moringa quite a bit, grew a bunch. Still have got a bunch of trees in Taiwan too with moringa. And thank you for joining us tonight. Ransom, any last words? And also please sign up for the newsletter, absolutely free, civilizationcycle.com. Right up the top, put your name in there. And we don't share your information. It's all private. We believe in privacy. We would expect to, keep your privacy as well. We don't share an email list just for us to send you out, talking points, maybe a couple cool slides, some thoughts. But join us in the conversation there, civilizationcycle.com. And Ransom, anything else to throw us out? And if you support us, buymeacoffee.com/civilization cycle.
I know. I guess, if a lizard man in a UFO lands on your farm, wait 30 days to find out if it came from a lab or not.
Well, how can I tell if it came from a lab? I would just invite them in because they're another species. Come on in. Don't eat us, but we'll provide you with some steaks or something.
They're vegetarians. You just started interstellar war.
Yeah, because turtles are vegetarian pretty much,
I'm just kidding. Anyway, I was thinking, it's not too early to start preparing for spring.
Get those seeds on.
That's what I'm doing right now. Cleaning up all the brush. Make sure there's no bugs to sprout along with the sprouts this spring. You get rid of all that stuff. Anyway, that's all I got.
All right, great. We'll see you next week. Thanks for